Christians variously regard marriage as a sacrament, a contract, a sacred institution, or a covenant. It is also referred to as holy matrimony. Meaning and purpose of marriage. It is not good for a man to live alone one, as we read in the Bible. A man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two will become one. So in this case, when you marry, you separate from your parents. Marriage means the union of two. But you realize that people who marry and remain with their parents, there is a lot of interference. It no longer becomes a marriage of two, it becomes a marriage of the entire family. They involve themselves and they sometimes end up destroying the marriage. So it is one of the major ways in which we express the image of God that we are. So you become fully the image of God and His likeness when you come together. Because remember when Adam was alone in the garden, he experienced a problem of loneliness, and God is not lonely. So He created a woman for him according to that story. The presence of a woman is one way of bringing one of the uttermost happiness in human life. And this provides the foundation of human society, as we said, because when you marry, you produce, you get children, and the society is always behind a couple to make sure that they become part of the society. When the couple does not produce children, the society or the family is concerned to make sure that that couple produces children. One of the purposes of marriage is to make a fulfillment, and we need to focus on what we call monogamy. So by the sign of the rings that you see there is that you are bonded to one another. As we said, you become one, and it becomes a fulfillment of what has been put in place for us as human beings, for us as people who fulfill God's command. And you must marry one. He says the two will come together and they become one. Parents as role models. John Locke once remarked on raising responsible children, and he said that parents wonder why streams are bitter when they themselves have poisoned the fountain. In other words, sometimes let us make an example of a pipe that brings water. If the pipe is dirty, the water that flows through it will be dirty. So you cannot ask and say, why is this water dirty, without knowing that the pipe that brings is dirty, or the source from where the water comes is the one that is making the water dirty. So we cannot wonder about the discipline or the behavior of the children when the parents themselves have lost responsibility. So the parents have a role to be models of their children, to guard against complaints about why children are out of hand. The family and morality. A man is respected by the way he raises his family, not the riches he has accumulated, because the riches are not going to build the community. The riches are not the sustainability of the human race. The human race is sustained through the children you leave behind, and their conduct or their discipline can either be appreciated or disregarded, or not appreciated, depending on how those children have been brought up. Since we have decided to twist it and chase riches while ignoring our children as well as spoiling them to prove how rich we are, we should be surprised. We shouldn't be surprised by consequences. Should not be surprised by consequences. In other words, what we are saying here, these days, most of the families, we are looking at bringing money into the family, making a better financial background for the family, and even to the extent of showing our children that we love them by giving them food that they want, dresses that they want, entertainment that they want, leisure that they want. And we don't have time for them because we spend most of the time chasing for, as we said, making ends meet, get money, live in luxury. Your children should not be talked about. Whether they have gone for wrong things, you don't know them because you are not there. So the neglect of the children is very, very bad. If you neglect them, it is your own peril. It is your own problem. You'll be blamed for that failure. Challenges facing marriages and families today. The influence of relatives is another issue. The influence of relatives might be affecting you or your wife. By looking into your marriage, they begin pointing out this and that. You married somebody we didn't like, and so many things, you know. Soon you will be getting there, but you have been seeing there because you are mature. If you allow your relatives to poke their nose into your marriage and unnecessarily, then be sure your marriage is going to fail. You just go out and seek for their advice when it is necessary. Divorce. Divorce is very common now, simply because people have taken marriage casual. They don't first consider what they are going into. They don't study their friends, as we said. So some people want to drive marriage like a car. Marriage is an institution given by God for the well-being of human beings. Sometimes people divorce because they don't find the taste they wanted in their partners. Then business. This is not business, but being very busy to attend to your marriage. When you come back home, you are tired, your wife or your husband wants to speak, you say, I'm tired, leave me. You are busy for others, but not busy for your family. And at the end of the day, when things go wrong, you cannot ask the people you were working with. They cannot help you. Even the money you have been working for cannot restore a lost marriage. Then lack of discipline, respect for one another. Financial pressures. When you have so many things to settle and they need money, and you don't have that money, it becomes a challenge. Lack of communication. Many things are happening around you in your family, but you don't want to communicate for a number of things, because the pattern you communicate to is so reactive, or does not want to hear, or you don't know how to communicate. The challenge. Negative media influences, like we talked about pornography, or things that can keep you up late without going to attend to your wife or to your husband because you are watching TV. This can be once in a while, but you can't always, every night, stay up until after midnight or even after 10, depending. Balance of work and family. Have time for work and have time for family. Don't go to work and come back with your work to be done at home when family members want you. For you, you are writing reports, you are reading reports, you are doing other things. No, the family wants you. You cannot spend 12 hours at work, including the hours you spend moving to your workplace, 12 hours even more. Then when you come back home, even you yourself, you are tired because of work, and you are adding on that extra work you brought home because you want to avoid workloads. And the family needs you, your children, your wife, or your husband. That is a challenge. Materialism. You want to be like others who are successful. The acquisition of material. What do you have that makes you who you are in the community? Can you be identified? You want a car, you want a house, you want land, you want cows, you want everything, you want furniture. That one can also be a challenge because it will take most of your time and drive you away, far away from your people. Perversion of sex and marriage. Perversion of sex starts with the abuse of marriage. Increase in sexual perversion indicates increase in marriage failure. There are people who are being married, but they are coming from a homosexual background, and eventually they end up failing, or who use pornography to stimulate their feelings and think that what they see in pornography is what their partners are going to do. And when they don't do them, they discard them like chewing a sugar cane, and you throw away the remains. That is perversion. So human sexuality can best be expressed within the framework of marriage. Anything that you do before marriage will eventually water down your marriage when you get married, because there is this idea, if you go to hotels, you eat here, tomorrow you eat another somewhere else, you feel like saying, the food that I have eaten in this hotel is better than the one I ate in the other hotel, or the other hotel they cook better than here. So is sex. If you happen to go about with sex before marriage, when you get married, you may find that your partner does not measure up to what you already know. And therefore you will always be seeking for pleasure which cannot be provided by your partner. And this will undermine your marriage because it is a perversion. Everything can have a corrupting effect on a man if it is mixed with sin. We said man, general, man and woman, if it has involved sin. Then there are those also who engage into the relationship when they are already married. That one also is a problem. Perversion. Need for sexual morality. Because of original sin, our sexual desires are disordered. Most if not all, human beings at some time are tempted to have sexual relationships with those with whom they should not, or in ways that they should not. They are tempted to violate the norms of sexual morality. You can judge yourself and see others. So sexual morality is based on the principle that the human person is never to be used as an object. You are here, it's like you drive this car, tomorrow you drive that one, and so on and so forth. No, it should be respected because it is one of the rare delicacies that God created for humanity that should not be played about or shared with others. The problem of prostitution. Prostitution is an example of how human beings pervert sex and marriage. It has become a commodity for sale, for acquisition of wealth. Some women would sing it out and they would want to engage into it because they want money, but others, by other means, they find themselves into the practice. Romans chapter 1 verse 30 is that human beings know how to invent ways of committing evil. The law cannot make sin good, even if prostitution is legalized in many countries. It cannot change to be normal and righteous. So that is the problem we are having today, that it has been legal. You cannot find somebody who has been engaged in it, legally recognized as having done something wrong, because there is no law against it. Then the challenge of HIV and AIDS, including all other STDs, sexually transmitted diseases. The spread of HIV and AIDS is an indication of a collapse in society or social morality in our society. Initially, we know one of the major ways of acquiring this HIV and AIDS is through sex. Rarely a small percentage is because of blood transfusion or at birth, but it is a very low percentage. So here we say abstinence is the best and safest way to wiping out HIV and AIDS and other sexually transmitted diseases like gonorrhea, candida, and others. This is because sex is not just a physical act, it involves many other aspects. But the challenge is that HIV and AIDS is spread fast among married people, because those are the people who engage in sex frequently. But today, you find that even those who are not married, their first number is growing. The question of homosexuality then, this is a sexual intercourse between people of the same sex. Romans chapter 1 verse 26-27 will tell you what has happened. That because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts. Even their women exchanged natural relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. So say, homosexuality is not something new. It also happened among other people of all time. Gender equality and marriage. How does the movement for gender equality affect marriage? Can men and women be equal? Seeking for equality is distorting marriage, because we know from a Christian point of view, matters we are all human beings, men and women, but there is no equality in assignments, in status, but we can recognize the contribution of each other as a form of equality. So God did not create equals, He created complements or companions. So in conclusion, we would say, to make society moral, we must bring back morality in our marriages and families. You will not expect your children to be morally upright if your marriage is not. If they know that you sneak out from family, from their mother or from their father, they will also be like you, as the story says, like father like son, like daughter like mother. So, does our generation still understand the purpose of sexual purity? If we were to be checked, for those who are not married among us, are we virgins? When we're talking about virgins, it is not something you look for among ladies, something you look for even among men who are not yet married. Why is God always against sexual impurity? It is because it corrupts the whole man and society. You'll find other desired children, single mothers, single fathers. You'll find separated homes, families, couples, and divorce. So it is something that God does not approve. So, if you take like 25 minutes on this, drawing specific ideas. Hello? Hello? I am in office, come in. Come in if you want to see me. You wait, let me first finish my lecture. Drawing specific ideas from topics covered. Appreciate why it is vital for you to personally uphold morality in practicing your profession with diligence. This is something you can think through. Think through and come up with a focused mind about this.